go to the last section of transformation. And then for the transformation, now we are going to consider the transformations in a rectangular coordinate plane. That means other than the drawing, we need to calculate for the coordinates after the transformation. And then I just want to recall, for transformation, we learned 3 types. Actually, we have 4 types. But in the consideration about the rectangular coordinate plane, we only need to learn 3 types of the transformation. That is translation. Translation, remember, that is only the movement of the point, may go to the left or right, up or down. Okay, and then the next one is the refraction, and the last one is the rotation. Then we just go to the first part. The first part is about the translation. So how to consider the coordinates after the translation? Then first of all, we need to consider the translation to the left or right. Then, for example, when we are going to consider a point, let's say it as point P, x, y. This is the coordinates of point P in the rectangular coordinate plane. And then if for the point, for example, look at the first column, I mean the first row, okay, the first row of this table. Then now if we are going to translate the point P to the right by n units, n, that means any number, I don't care about of this number, maybe for example 3 units or 4 units or 5 units, just any number, go to the right hand side. If the point go to the right hand side, then think about that. You know that if the point is going to the right hand side, you can see that the point will move to this direction. This is the right hand side, and that's why the coordinates of the image, that means after the translation for n units to the right hand side, you can see that the image and the point P form a horizontal line. Okay, you can see that here is the horizontal line. So they are y coordinates. Can you see that? Originally, I mean the original point P, the y coordinate is equal to y. And then the image of the y coordinate, also write it as y. That means it didn't have any changes. That means the y coordinate remain unchanged. But because the movement is go to the right hand side, so the x coordinate should change. Let's look at the x coordinate. Originally, I mean the original point P, that is x. If it is go to the right hand side, you can see that the x coordinate should plus how many units for the movement? That is n units. So you have to plus n for the x coordinate only, but no change for the y coordinate. And after you get the idea about the movement to the right hand side, I think it's not difficult for you to get the idea for the translation of the left hand side. Left hand side, you can see that the point, if it is translated to the left hand side, you can see that the point will move to this direction, and they also lie on the same horizontal line. That's why their y coordinate also keep unchanged. You can see that the y coordinate here, the y coordinate here keep unchanged, only change the x coordinate. So because it is moved to the left hand side, that's why the x coordinate should be minus n. So I think it's not difficult to remember when the point is translated to the left or right, then we just need to change the x coordinate. Okay, and if go to the right hand side, then it is plus. If it is going to the left hand side, then it is minus. But remember, the y coordinate of the image remains unchanged. And then after the discussion of the translation to the left or right, you can see the next slide. Then we need to consider upward and downward for the translation. After you get the idea about that, when it is moved to the left or right, the y coordinate keep unchanged. Then if it is moving up or down, then the x coordinate will not be changed. Okay, so let's look at the point again. For example, the point P, let it as x and y. If it is going up for n units, so can you see that only the y coordinate will change because they are lying in the same vertical line. So their x coordinate will not change after such translation. And because it is going up, that means the y coordinate should plus for n units. And when it is going down, again, the y coordinate should be changed, but for minus. So I think the idea is simple for the translation, and that's why you can write down the coordinates of the image easily for the translation when whatever is going to the left or right, or going up or down. So let's look at some example here. You can see that now, for example 10, if m is the original point, which is translate 8 units to the right to the point n. That's why you can see that now, look at this. You can see that the coordinates of n, that means this is the image. Okay, you can see that actually because m here is the original one. Okay, this is the point are going to be translated. Then for the original point, translate to the point n. That's why n is the image. Then for such translation, we have to know the direction and the distance for the translation. You can see that translated 8 units. And for translated 8 units, this is the distance, also the direction to the right. To the right, that means plus. And then we just need to change the x coordinate by adding 8. So you can see that the translation to the right, that means add 8 to the x coordinate only, but the y coordinate remains unchanged. So you can calculate the coordinates of n. Just my presentation, you should show me the calculation about to plus 8 to the x coordinate or the y coordinate, and then write down the answer. So I think the answer is not difficult to write down. That is 6, -1. And next, part B. Now P is the original point, which is translated 12 units upward. When it is going up, you know that you have to change the y coordinate and keep the x coordinate unchanged. Okay, x coordinate remains unchanged, and then because it is going up, so for the y coordinate you should add 12 for the y coordinate here, add 12 for the y coordinate, and then you can write down the answer easily. I think this is just a simple idea about the translation. And then let's look at this is another example, and which is more complicated, because now you need to consider a point E is translated 6 units upward. That means this E is the original point. Okay, E is the original point, and then which is translated 6 units. So I have to maybe highlight the distance 6 units and also the direction upward. After you saw the word upward, you know that you should change the y coordinate because it is going up, so the y coordinate should be changed. But there are further translation because and then 9 units to the left. Okay, you also know the distance and the direction. And if to the left hand side to this direction, you know that you have to change the x coordinate by -4, 9 units. And then you will reach to the point F. That means now, actually, it is given that the coordinates of the image instead of the original image. But in our translation that we had learned before, we learned from the original to the image. Then now we have to do it reversely. Then we may let the coordinates of E be x and y. and then try to express, okay, and then try to express, because I know that the original image, sorry, not the original image, the original point, okay, the original point E, I let the coordinates of the original point E as x and y. Then after the translation, for the translation about the left hand side first, because I would like to find the value of x first, so I would like to look at the translation of the left hand side or the right hand side first. Then I just focus on this 9 unit to the left. Then I can consider the changes of the x coordinate only. Then for the original point E, the x coordinate we let it as x, because translate 9 units to the left, so it should be minus 9. And then it should equal to the image of the, the x coordinate of the image. Okay, it is negative 6. So you can see that the point E translated 9 units to the left, which is equal to the x coordinate of f. So x minus 9, which is equal to negative 6. And then you will get the result of x, that is 3. And then you also need to find the value of you need to find the value of y as well. Then if you look at the coordinate, the y coordinate of E, then you have to consider the translation about this direction 6 units upward, because when the point is moving up, then the y coordinate will be changed. Then from the original point E, the y coordinate is equal to y. If it is translated 6 units upward, that means y plus 6. And finally, that means it reached the image point F, that is equal to 3. That's why I can set up the equation about this, y plus 6 equals to 3. Then I can solve the value of y. After I got the value of x and y, then I got the coordinates of E by this. So you have to learn the technique about that. If the coordinates of the image is given, then how to find the original one? Then we always let xy be the coordinates of the original point. And then use the knowledge that we have learned before. That means the translation, go to the left or right, or go to up or down, then set up the equation to solve for the value of x and y. That means the coordinates of the original point. And then let's look at part B. If the point E is translated to G, so now this point E, okay, then let's look at part B. And then you can see that now point E is the original one. So I know the coordinates of E, which is from part A. And now I know that point E is the original point, and point G is the image in part B, because the point E is translated to point G. And then I should use the distance between the difference between G and E, the difference of their x coordinate, that is 14 minus 3. Because I know the coordinates of point E and point G, then I just use the x coordinate of the image minus the x coordinate of the original point. Then I find the distance between them, that is 11, and it is only for the difference of their x coordinate. That means the movement to the left or right. And if you find it is positive, that means the movement is to the right hand side, because it is positive. Positive, that means plus, right? If it is positive, that means go to the right hand side. That means the translation to the right for 11 units. And then try to find the difference. The difference of their y coordinate. Then let's try to check the difference of their y coordinates. Then you get the answer is negative, because now you get the difference of their y coordinate, which is negative. So it is going down. Okay, the translation about this is going down. That means downward. Then how to describe the translation about the movement from point E to point G? You can say that. So therefore, finally, the answer is that E is translated 11 units, because positive, that is to the right. And then because there are also some movement about in the upward or downward, because the difference of their y coordinate, then that is 9 units. Because it is negative, that means downward, then will reach the point G. So sometimes you may need to describe what is the movement, I mean the transformation here, that is the translation. Then how to describe the translation between the original point and the image? Then you have to calculate the difference of their x coordinates and the difference of their y coordinate. Then you know what is the movement, that means the translation. Then try to write the sentence to describe the result. Okay, so this is the part about the translation. And I hope that you can try the worksheet, I mean the lesson worksheet that I had assigned to you as the homework. The first part is about the translation. Then you can try this one. Okay, then you can try this one first. If you go to your homework, that means the lesson worksheet here for the first part about the translation. I hope that you can try to watch the video about the translation part first, and then you can try the worksheet by yourself. But I would like to explain a little bit about the worksheet here. For this part, just the review about that what we had learned in the PowerPoint. That means the translation to the left or right, you can see that only need to change their x coordinate. So let's look at the drill 1. For the example 1, I think the idea is also easy, and drill 1, which is similar to example 1, and try to present your answer in this way. For drill 1 is that, let's look at the original point P, that is 5, -4, and it is translated 8 units to the left. So you can see that if the point here translated 8 units to the left, okay, so if you can see that it is translated 8 units to the left, that means only change the x coordinate and keep the y coordinate unchanged. And for the x coordinate, because to the left, so you can see that when it is translated to the left, then it should be minus. Okay, then it should be minus, and then the y coordinate should remain unchanged. And that's why for the coordinates of Q, I may write down, remember, when you are going to represent the coordinates, you should use the bracket and separate the x and y coordinate by a comma. Then use the bracket for the x coordinate originally, that means look at the original point P. Originally, the x coordinate is 5. And then because to the left, that is -4, 8. And then this is the x coordinate. Next, you have to write down the y coordinate. Remember to separate, okay, to separate the x coordinate and y coordinate by a comma. And then the y coordinate keep unchanged. That means just to copy the y coordinate here, -4. Then close the bracket. This is the presentation about the coordinates. And then try to simplify your answer by calculate the 5 minus 8, that is -3. Don't forget the bracket, and then write down -3, and then lastly here for the y coordinate, it should be 4. Okay, it should be 4, and then close the bracket. That's why this is the solution for Joule 1. And then I think for question 1 and question 2, which is similar to the Joule 1 and the example 1, but don't forget, you have to present in this way. Write down what you are going to calculate. That is the it should be the coordinates. Okay, I forgot the S here. Coordinates of D. Why is S? Because there are two coordinates, X and Y coordinates. So when we are going to represent a coordinate, then I mean the coordinates of a point, it should be the coordinates of that point, because there should be X and Y coordinates. Then the same idea is that use the bracket and then look at the translation. It is translated 2 units to the right. So the X coordinate, I mean the original X coordinate, that is -6. And then because to the right, so it should be plus. How many units? It is 2. And then it is the changes of the X coordinate, but no change for the Y coordinate. So just write down the original Y coordinate, that is 4. Okay, that is 4. And then close the bracket. Lastly, simplify the answer. -6 plus 2, that is -4. Okay, that is -4 and then 4. That is the answer for question 1. And then try to finish question 2 as well. And also for this part, I mean translate upwards or downwards, the same idea, but for upward and downward, remember, just need to change the Y coordinate and keep unchanged for the X coordinate. And that's why here you can see that because the translation for this Joule 2, the point P originally is here, which is translated 8 units downward. So the Y coordinate should be minus. Okay, and that's why for the coordinates of Q, keep the X coordinate unchanged. That means the same as the original point P, that is 6. And then next, the Y coordinate. The Y coordinate from 5 and then go downward. Okay, and then go downward. That means minus. So you have to minus. Okay, you have to use the Y coordinate of P minus for 8 units. So it should be -8. And then close the bracket. And don't forget, try to find the final answer. Here it should be 6, and then this 5 minus 8, that is -3. That is the answer here. So I think this part is easy. Then try to finish this part, and then we will move on to the next part. Next part, the transformation is about the reflection. Okay, so I'll try this first.